I'm Amy, sex educator, somatic sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to the Shameless Sex Podcast.
Number
50-something.
50-something. We're in the 50s. I think we're 54?
7 or 8.
58? It's in the 50s.
Yeah, the high 50s.
We're at our year anniversary. Well, we passed our year anniversary.
Oh, that's true. We
Yeah.
totally did. We've been doing this for over a year now.
Right.
Awesome.
We have additional episodes because we launched some bonus episodes.
Yeah.
So we're in the late high 50s.
Super exciting. We should have had a party.
I know. Well,
Son of a
soon.
monkey.
We'll be celebrating a lot because we have a lot of really cool things coming up.
Uh-huh.
A lot of juicy, amazing things. Not only this podcast that we're about to go into, but we're recording an online workshop.
Yep. I have an online 4-week series. We're in the process of that. More details will come soon, but an opportunity to take a 4-week series workshop with us online from anywhere in the world. And it will include videos. You can actually see our wonderful little faces talking about some things.
Right. And then you have some time to actually call in and talk with us. Well, it'll be really inspiring and helpful, and that'll be soon. We're working on it. We'll have a launch date soon, so we'll keep you posted. And then Amy, what do you have going on?
I talked about this in the last podcast, but I have a workshop coming up that is a couples retreat on July 7th and 8th here in Santa Cruz. You can find out more information at purepleasureshop.com, but it's a couples retreat to teach couples about communication and kind of tantra and juicy connection stuff. And the intention is for people to come in feeling like, oh, I feel good about my partner, and to leave feeling really, really great about their connection. So it's a 2-day retreat here in the Santa Cruz Mountains. You can find out more at purepleasureshop.com. And
We're also going into a book writing retreat, Amy and I.
Yeah.
It's just her and I. Book writing retreat,
We're gonna write a
because
book.
we are it's going to be amazing. We've already brainstormed and we have some really cool, helpful. It's not like our biography. No. Who gives a fuck about our biography?
someone does.
Well, someone probably does, but we're writing. It's going to be a really useful tool to provide our listeners and beyond. And if you are in the Brooklyn area, I will be emceeing, and Amy will also be participating in the Sexual Health Expo. It's in Brooklyn, New York,
In September.
September 22nd and 23rd. We're probably going to do a live podcast over there and probably some workshop teachings. And I will be emceeing, and we'll have a Shameless Sex booth. And I believe it's free. So if you are in New York in September, check us out.
Find us. Oh, yeah, in Chicago. I should announce this too. I'm actually teaching in Chicago at a store that is either called Taboo or The Alley. I think it's also known as both of them.
I think that it's both of them. I've been there before.
Okay, yeah, and it's on Tuesday, June 26th. I'm teaching at 7 p.m. I'm teaching my G-spots, P-spots, and Squirting 101 workshop at Taboo in Chicago. So if you are in Chicago and you want to come see me and learn from me, come there on June 26th. And we're going to read a sex question, but this podcast that we're going to do, we have a guest speaker. It's on sex trafficking.
It's really, we already recorded it just to be transparent.
It's really moving.
It's moving. She's
amazing.
a phenomenal human being. And
You don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it.
I was like, I'm fanning the tears away right now because it's powerful and really good stuff and information. This shit's happening, everyone. It's happening now. It's not just in Cambodia or Thailand or where you think that this stuff kind of happens. It's in your backyard. It's in your home. It's in major cities. It's in small towns. So it's important to listen to this and perhaps there's something that you can do to help. So,
well, the story is also an inspirational story of not only the struggles with human trafficking and but also the resilience that involved in the survival and the recovery. And she is the work that she's doing now is absolutely amazing. So it's a really beautiful, incredible, and heart-wrenching journey. And I highly suggest listening. And you will probably be moved as much as we were, because it is really powerful.
So stay tuned. That's going to be happening in just a few minutes. But before then, let's check out this sex question, and we'll keep it anonymous. We'll call the sender E. So, I really enjoy kissing, but my friends with benefits partner really dislikes it. He feels it's too intimate for our relationship. But for me, sex isn't sex without kissing. How should I approach this issue? All right, E, thank you for writing us.
Inspired by Pretty Woman.
And inspired by Pretty Woman. That was a thing, right, on the movie, which I watched like 600 times.
Yeah, she didn't kiss for that reason.
I don't, because
it's
too personal.
Yeah,
I adore kissing, and the funny thing is, I feel like my partner doesn't adore it as much as I do, and so I always ask. I'm like, hey, can we make out?
Yeah, I was making out. Yeah,
and it's funny because I really connect with kissing, and it's part of like helping the juices flow for me.
Yeah.
I like get really turned on by kissing. Not over, like they'll reach a point where I'm like kind of bored of it a little bit, but like then kiss other parts of the body, but I do require kissing. So I would have to say and Amy, I'm sure you'll have something really valuable as well to offer, but from my perspective, I would say definitely open up the conversation and say it's important for you, and ask for it. Because if you don't ask, and maybe you already have, and he continues to say he doesn't like it, but say, hey, well, we can do a 50-50 exchange here. Like this, can we just kiss and make out this session of our experience, and then tomorrow we don't have to kiss at all on the mouth? I can kiss other places.
I like what you said about the importance. I was working with a client who, when they talk to their partner about things that they want, they suggest it as like, it's a suggestion. Like, maybe if you like to try this, we could, instead of like, this is important to me. So there's a difference between just saying like, oh, hey, do you want to try this thing? It might be fun. Versus, this is something that's really important to me as a means of receiving pleasure and connection. And so it sounds like, this person really enjoys kissing. The person that is their friends with benefits person says it's too vulnerable and too close. So they're trying to essentially like put down some sort of wall to make it so it isn't really intimate, Pretty Woman style. So you have some options to just convey the level of importance, and they might still say, I don't kiss unless I'm in a relationship. And then you decide, do you still want to play with this person if there's a big component that's missing for you? Or do you, like I said, what April said, try to make some compromise to get some of that in there. But it sounds like from what you're writing that it's important to you, that you kind of need it to feel connected to someone. Otherwise, the connection might feel a little empty. So I would prioritize it as a level of importance. And if it's not something that they're able to even meet you even halfway, to consider renegotiating the friends with benefits situation.
Or maybe it's like we can kiss super like tonguey and like really like where that's like like not dirty, but you know what I mean? Like where it's like really, I think it's
like licking the face.
Yeah, where it's
like a dog.
Just really like almost like I'm gonna tear your face off with my tongue, but not like a sweet, intimate kind of kiss. Maybe that would be something that like to throw in there. Like let's just kiss intensely
to kiss. Yeah, there can be like a really emotional makeout, and maybe that's not on the table.
Right. But yeah, I do think that asking for it and negotiating the importance of it for you and talking about it. And if it's just something that they're really not into, as you said, is dislikes and really is against, perhaps you just have to find a different friends with benefits partner that enjoys kissing more.
Well, and here's another example of how porn may have affected people. You never see in mainstream porn a lot of making out and kissing. It's not really that common. There might be like a little bit if it's part of the scene, like setting the scene. But when they start fucking, they're just fucking. And so a lot of folks who've seen that might also be shaping their ideas of what sexuality should look like, that making out or kissing throughout the act is not a part of it. But I do know that when I work with people in long-term relationships, that's one of the things that goes out of the window first, and that they miss it. They're like, I miss the kissing. I miss the making out. It's part of feeling connected, and it's not there anymore. We just go right to the genitals, and and people are feeling really unfulfilled. So if you have a need for kissing, I would honor that need, because it's a valid one.
Something that I need to work on regarding this as well is I'm always like, you don't like kissing, do you? And I need to stop doing that.
That's not helpful.
No, it's totally not helpful, but I do that. I'm like, I do it in a playful way, like, you don't like kissing me, huh? I love it.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's helpful to explain what you like instead of telling someone what they don't like.
Oh, totally. No, I know. And I realized, and I'm always like, damn it. That's not what I meant.
I meant that I really like kissing, and I would love it if maybe we could kiss a little more.
We all have to work on some things.
Yeah.
And I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah. So, go ahead and ask for it. And we've talked about in past podcasts, but just conveying the level of importance and starting with an appreciation of something that's good. I really love our friends with benefits.
I really like banging it out with you on an irregular basis.
Followed by the word and followed by what you were asking for.
I'm hoping that we could make out from time to time.
Why?
Because it's really important for me. I like the tongue in my mouth.
What about your butthole?
Sometimes too. I like rimming. Not necessarily in that order.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Oh, God. What if you had a shower?
Okay, fine.
Sold. We just negotiated some good
My
sex.
little pink butthole tattoo.
What?
Purple butthole tattoo.
What is that?
I don't know. My butthole kind of looks like I got a purple tattoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did someone tell you that?
Yeah.
No, all of our listeners are very curious as to what the hell we're talking about.
Well, first of all, I always thought anal bleaching was bleaching your butthole hairs until I realized that most people probably
skin.
You skin, and I didn't know that. And I was like, oh, well, my butthole is kind of purple. Maybe it's a tattoo that I have.
I love the color purple.
Me too.
I had a purple streak in my hair once.
You have a purple shirt on right now.
That's true.
Anyway, off topic. So
kissing. I think we should do an episode on kissing.
Okay.
Like, and not just kissing, but like some different techniques and the art of kissing and the different ways that you can kiss and when you can incorporate it in, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think?
Have you ever just sucked on a tongue?
Yeah, not really my jam. Nor do I like
I'm
that.
like, what did you have for dinner? Like steak tacos.
Ew. And I do not enjoy having my tongue.
It's like a really weird sensation. If you've never done it, I do request / suggest that you try it just once. Suck a tongue.
Maybe get permission first.
Well, yeah, definitely ask. Hey, can I suck your tongue?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I hope this helps our tangents. Yeah, so negotiate that kissing. You deserve it. Kissing's hot.
Yes, you do. So,
okay, before we go in the podcast, I want to say 2 things. Number 1, April, are you still not drinking wine?
I'm still off the wine.
Oh, my God.
But I do want to say that, our favorite winemaker, Megan from Margins Wine, I saw her at local restaurant in Santa Cruz. She's actually working there, and I love her, and I ran into her, and I was like, I just want you to know that I absolutely love your wine. It's beautiful. And she's making a bunch more. She said she's going to have some new releases, I think, starting next month. Ooh. So right now she's super low, and if you're out there, you're listening, even if you're not from Santa Cruz, you're from Wisconsin, you're from Florida, sign up for her newsletter, because you'll get all of, she doesn't put out very many either. It's not going to totally spam you up, but check it out, because she makes beautiful wine. And if you're not a wine drinker, checking out a bottle of her stuff is well worth it, because you'll probably love it. I know that I serve her Chenin Blanc to friends when they come over, and they're like, this tastes like a sour beer, or this tastes really great, or even non-wine drinkers really like it. So good. Check it out, marginswine.com. Sign up for her newsletter. She's going to have some really cool, very diverse releases. I can't wait to get back on the wine.
I know. I'm asking you that because I'm already like, when are we going to be able to drink wine while we podcast?
I know. Usually we podcast and drink wine, and Amy's
drink it on my own,
being supportive with my.
I'm being supportive. I'm going to go drink some later, but
I know,
but not right now.
I was thinking about maybe getting off of it this weekend and having a glass or two.
Get off the cleanse. Wine.
We'll see.
Why not?
Why not?
All right, everyone. Well, I think that's it for all of our announcements. Our sex question. We really want to create a lot of spaciousness to dive into this. I don't even know. I don't have the right words to describe this podcast.
And I do want to say, if you're unaware, or if you are a human that has been trafficked, there are resources for you. She talks a little bit about it going into it, but there are resources, and it is a serious thing. And I think that I would love to actually donate to the cause, because I think this is it's a problem. So that being said, should we get on and go through it?
Let's giddy on up.
Giddy on up.
Let's do it. Okay, everyone. So it's time to dive into the podcast as promised. I'll do a little intro for our wonderful guest speaker. So Robin Rivera is a wild woman warrior and feminine leadership coach working with women on a mission, as well as youth empowerment and for prevention education on sex trafficking. Robin is passionate about transforming trauma into freedom, sharing her story of resilience, radical transformation, and overcoming sexual trauma and sexual exploitation from a survivor's perspective. To learn more, visit RobinRiveraIgnites.com. Welcome, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This topic is a really, really good one, too. I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm sure also edgy for a lot of folks, too. Sure. Like a little edgy in, is it okay to talk about it?
Yeah.
It's important. It's so important. And it's time to shed some light from a survivor's perspective as well.
Yeah, so let's start, I guess, before we go in, tell us a little more about yourself. So tell us about yourself and the work that you do. We'll start with that.
Okay, myself and the work they do. Oh my goodness. Is there a time frame here?
Yeah. Well, no, just whatever.
Just. Okay. So, well, the work that I'm doing currently actually keeps finding me. I didn't really set out to do it, but I keep being asked to contribute to kind of a survivors-led anti-human trafficking movement where we go around to counties and organizations training staff and law enforcement service providers basically about child sex trafficking awareness. And then we have a second program where we teach them how to actually interact with them, how to provide services for them, and what it actually takes to heal, and protocol and program development. So I've been doing that for about 4 years paid, longer than that, since 2011, for volunteering. And, when I started volunteering with it, I was a couple years into changing my life, and I didn't know really why I was drawn to this human trafficking thing. And I just, I was trying to do college, and I knew that it would be good for me to volunteer, and I just felt like being of service. And so my heart just called me to go to this human trafficking conference by myself. And I was super shy. I didn't know why I was there. And when I was sitting in the audience, I just was listening to the speakers, and I just burst into tears. And I was like, oh my God, I was totally trafficked when I was younger. And some of my experiences were with traffickers. I didn't know that that pimps were human traffickers. I didn't know that. And I had a history. I had an experience in the adult sex industry since I was about 18 years old. And before that, I had, just multitude of complex sexual traumas. I don't know if anybody actually, human trafficked me when I was underage, because there has to be a third party profiter for that to constitute as human trafficking. But I was definitely exploited by older men, and definitely coerced and put into these gnarly situations. And then, coming full circle as an adult, sitting in this anti-human trafficking conference, I just had this huge, a realization and an opening of a deep healing that, wow, this is a real thing. This really happened to me, and I'm lucky that I made it out alive. And and I began this deeper journey of my healing, which I was already on, and through the means of being of service to this movement. And so I've, little by little been asked to public speak and speak on sexual trauma and resilience and all these things. So that's part of the work I do. And then, I went to UC Berkeley and studied social welfare. And then now I'm just really, really deeply interested in the transformational process, because I know firsthand how gut-wrenching and how difficult and how much perseverance it requires, and how rewarding and how beautiful. So I went on to study my master's in consciousness and transformation. I'm almost done. I have a couple more units. So now I've kind of taken that degree and turned it into a feminine leadership coaching business. So I simultaneously am doing these human trafficking trainings, mentoring other survivors, and mentoring other women who want to step into more powerful forms of their personal leadership, owning their story of trauma and resilience. resilience in whatever way that means, whether it's, pursuing public speaking or starting a business or creating online courses. I just, really want to be there to hold other women's hand through this process. So, yeah. Does that answer you where I'm at now?
Definitely. And can you explain a little more of the complexities of human trafficking? Because I think when people think of human trafficking, and it sounds like you had an aha moment about it, but they think it happens in one way. It's someone from abroad who doesn't speak English or a certain language is like stolen and taken and sold into sexual slavery. But I know that it's also more than that. So can you explain a little more about that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so desensitized to it. I think everybody just knows. But that was me too. I didn't know. I thought it was, totally just exactly what you said, just like on the movie Taken. And although that does happen, people get kidnapped and get into high-end prostitution rings. That does happen. But more so what we're seeing and more of what I'm involved in and what we're concerned with is basically street trafficking, urban trafficking. California is home to 3 hubs, and what that looks like is just basically a woman is prostituted, and she is not keeping the money. There is someone taking her money. There's somebody. A third party is profiting. So it's an exchange of any sexual act for something of value. It doesn't even have to be money. It could be drugs. It could be food, shelter, a car, or a promise thereof. But if a third party person is profiting, it's considered human trafficking. For adults, there has to be proof of force, fraud, or coercion. So that could be as simple as a trafficker, a pimp, promising a woman a career in the modeling industry, which happened to a very close friend of mine, and then, kind of swindling her into it and tricking her and getting her under his control, threatening her, and very quickly getting mind control. And there's a science behind it. Like it can be very quickly achieved even with a well-adjusted human being. Now for children, the laws have passed since 2001, I believe, 2000 or 2001, that you don't have to prove force, fraud, or coercion just because of the nature of the underdeveloped mind. So you don't have to prove any force, fraud, or coercion. If they're under 18 and there's a third party person profiting from the child or the minor doing some kind of sexual act in exchange of anything of value, then it's considered human trafficking. And so what that most looks like is, underage kids being sold online. A man or woman wants to purchase a child, and you can order any size, color, shape, ethnicity that you want and have it delivered right to your doorstep. Or you can go on the street in certain, hubs and just scour the street and pick up which one you want. And America, surprisingly, is the number one destination for child sex tourism, while like Brazil and Thailand would probably be the top. I can't remember the exact top for adult sex tourism, which is where, businessmen travel the world specifically having exotic sex with women, whatever. But people come to America to purchase children. And the only reason that exists is because there's such a high demand and it's underregulated in America. And so people are really getting together now, and they're at ground zero, corralling like, okay, this makes us look really bad. We need to do something about this. But they're really at ground zero about it.
And there's actually the new laws, I forgot the FOSTA, they're calling it FOSTA law that happened in California that is supposed to help with human trafficking. What's your stance on that? Because I do know a number of people who are current sex workers by choice who are really unhappy about it because it's made it so it's harder for them to advertise and promote themselves in safe outlets. But what do you think? I don't know all the details about that just passed. And what makes me a little bit different than the other survivors in the circle that I am is that I don't have a strong stance on, pro sex work or no pro sex work, because I can see the bigger perspective. I have experiences both as a sex worker and being exploited and coerced and all that stuff. And I very much understand what it's like to be a woman in the world and need money and
and to even feel empowered in certain scenarios. So I don't know how that law affects sex workers, but I don't have a stance on like, oh, let's just destroy everything. I don't think that is the issue. I think the issue is the demand, the increasing demand for children and preying upon vulnerable populations. That's where I think the problem is. Like, I don't know. But so I don't know what happened with that law. I do know about the law that passed that made children basically able to get access to resources through the child welfare system by deeming that if they are identified as, we call it CSEC, it's commercially sexually exploited children, if they are deemed somehow discovered to be CSEC, then they are deemed a child who has experienced neglect, whether the parent tried to protect them or not. It's like, I don't know, I think the law says it would mean that the parent either failed to or was unable to protect the child from being sexually exploited. And so that's kind of controversial too, because then it's like, oh, now the parents are getting in trouble or whatever. Not really, but it gives them access to resources. So that's the only laws I know about. I don't know what's going on with the FOSTA though. Can you tell me what you know about it?
Well, what I know about it is it was targeting specifically the big outlets where people could advertise, like Craigslist, back pages, things like that made it so that people could no longer advertise on there. And the intention was that if they got rid of that, then I'm not going to say this perfectly because I don't know everything about this, but that then they could help to end human trafficking. But what has happened is for a lot of sex workers, that was their safe way of promoting themselves, screening, exactly. And so, what happens next? Do they have to go put themselves on the street and screen, like, in person in a really unsafe way? And so I've heard that a number of sex workers that are kind of scrambling to figure out how to keep their business going, because I do know a number of sex workers that choose to do sex work because they love it. They absolutely love it. And and some of them are doing it in a way that feels really healing. It's not just to bring in the money. And sometimes it is just bringing the money and they still love it, but they need safe outlets to do it. So, so I think, you want to go into that?
Yeah, I hear you. And I have two things to say about that. One, I totally, I agree that there are people that feel really empowered by it and love it. And my thing is, from my perspective, because here's the thing, I left the industry, whatever, I became a single mom, tried to change my life mostly because I was, physically ill and mentally, distraught. But I did this whole thing where I totally rejected, the sex industry and that life. And I just really wanted to be a good mom and learn what that meant. And then through having my healing process and education and taking feminist classes at UC Berkeley, and I even took a class on feminist porn. And I thought, you know what, well, maybe I can do that. You know what, maybe I did like that. I did like parts of that. And so I really was trying to discover for myself, can this really be empowering? And so I did go back and I tried. And here's the distinction that I think I want to point out is, in my experience of all the people that I know, and I have friends who are still sex workers, love them to death, and whatever. I think that it's not the majority that are feeling empowered. I think there are some people who do feel empowered, and I love that. But the majority of the people that I knew were suffering in some way and vulnerable in some way. And that's where I have a problem with, is like, okay, I did not have the power to say no to things that I didn't want to do because of whatever wounding and trauma and destitution and things like that. And lack of boundaries, just a lot of moving factors. And I had a lot of friends that experienced that too, and I know a lot of people that experienced that. If there was a way to protect the people that are vulnerable from being taken advantage by the producers, the directors, the porn agents, all these people, I would say, oh yeah, it's all good. It's not all good because for some reason, vulnerable people are being pipelined through there. But so that's what I have to say about that. I think that the only issue is people who are vulnerable and don't have the power to say no to the things they don't want to do. And then it compiles, and lives can get really confusing. But the second thing I want to say about the about the the websites being taken down and stuff, I totally hear how that could damage sex workers' businesses. I don't have anything to say about that because I'm not in that industry anymore and it's not affecting me personally. What I can say about how it affects, what I see how it affects the child sex trafficking negatively is that I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying negatively. I don't care. I don't care. It's the truth. But that was a way that we were finding some kids. That was the way that we were finding them because they were on there. Oh, she's alive. Oh, let's, there she is. That's how police were finding them. And so now it's like, how are you going to find them? Where are they going to go? I don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing that I did hear is that they were saying that a lot of the sex workers are saying it's not going to help sex trafficking. It's going to push it underground.
And I just don't agree with all this like black and white shit of like, oh, it's all or nothing, or it's sex work, or it's not human trafficking. It's like, come on, people, wake up. This is like a huge thing. This is so much broader than just like, oh, no sex. If you end sex work, then you're going to end the demand. No, if the demand was for Christmas trees, people would be buying and selling fucking Christmas trees, but it's not. The demand is for sex. You're not going to take away the demand. It's just not going to happen. And so my thoughts are like, what is the best way that we can serve and lift people up and meet them where they're at? Like, for me, it's not about taking anybody even out of trafficking. Like, yeah, okay, I guess like if they're really in danger, and you want to hospitalize them, they're sick or something, but they're going to go back. Because this is their human life. This is the life that they are caught up in, and all we can do is be a shining example to them and love them as best we can and provide whatever we can. So I just feel like all these like laws and things and tactics, that stuff is not working. Like it's like a two-sided coin. If you take one thing away, then it exasperates in another area. So I don't know. I'm not a genius magician. I don't know how to fix, the answer, but I do know that you can't save anybody. You can't change anybody. I just feel like all you can do is love them and live through such a powerful example of what's possible. If people are doing it because they love it, great. They still need your love. It's fine. But if people are doing it or caught in it because they don't know what's possible and they don't know their potential, then that's where I feel like I have a place to be like, hey, yeah, you can do this. And you can also explore how amazing your life could be and how free you could get. And that's what I'm concerned with. So I don't really know about all the logistics.
If someone is really moved by this, obviously a lot of people are moved by this, but to help prevent trafficking from happening, are there some suggestions, I don't know, some causes that you know of that are legitimate that people could either donate to, or ways to mitigate or even slowly find a means to an end to trafficking? Do you have any light to shine on that for us?
Yeah, well, prevention is really important. And I have a client right now who is, she's a survivor, and she's creating a traffickers prevention program. So it's like, reaching the young boys who might potentially become traffickers and empowering them and talking about it, and talking about other options. She hasn't created it yet, so I don't know what it's going to be called. But there are programs like that. What I think is important for prevention is just like, well, it's along that lines, is the community education, is talking about it with kids younger and younger. It's just so much in our media, and it's like they're being groomed really young. If all the factors are in place, like broken home, because we're generally seeing it's kids who are runaway, kids who have broken homes, and yeah, they're just basically looking for love. So I think talking about it at a young age is really important. I don't have a program on the top of my head right now as far as donating to prevention. I am creating a prevention program. It's called Light Warriors, and I've piloted it twice. In Monterey and Merced. And basically, for me, it's more of like a psycho-spiritual coaching, peer mentorship program, with the idea that if you instill self-esteem and self-awareness and self-autonomy in children, and talk about the sex stuff and trafficking and in the issue, that they will be able to, feel more empowered and kind of get the secret to life at a younger age of manifesting your own reality, particularly for foster youth, particularly I'm targeting the, what is it called? Transitional age youth. So between 18 and 24. And then I would like them to graduate from this program and then teach the younger population, like the middle schoolers, about self-autonomy and what sex trafficking is and things like that. But something that people can do to be involved is become volunteer and get educated to become an advocate, so that when people are identified, when victims are identified, they can have somebody, a wellspring of people to send out to be first responders, to be there with them and to advocate for them and to help them feel more safe and empowered. Another thing that is highly, highly needed to support stopping human trafficking, or at least dealing with what's going on, is specialized foster parents. And because we just do not have barely any resources or places to put the children who do want to get out or who are discovered, there's really nowhere to put them. And it's very controversial to do lockdown. I was in a lockdown facility when I was 15 years old, and I lived there for 13 months. And now it's very controversial. Some people think, yes, put them in residential. And some people are like, no, then they get out and they have no life skills. And so giving them a normal life as possible, the best way to do that is through specialized foster parents. And there's just, already an under-resource of foster parents in general for any youth, but especially needed for the seasick youth. Yeah. And the other side of prevention is like it's the demand side. So that it would be, harsher crimes for the Johns and things like this. But I really don't have a stance on that. I don't know what the answer for that is. I think the best thing is for people to just to get involved if it speaks to them, if it calls them, and in whatever way possible. And I would just Google it, what's in your area, because there's different resources in everyone's areas, and it's very particular to the county. Some counties are very far behind in catching up with providing resources and initiatives, while others are very progressive, like Santa Clara County in California. Yeah.
And you talked a little bit about your journey, your experience with sex trafficking, and so I'm wondering if you have anything to elaborate on that, and then also more so about the tools that you found helpful in working with trauma and shame that really worked for you on your journey.
Yeah. Okay. The trafficking that I experienced, I feel very passionate for people to understand that it's not black and white. It's not like, oh, this child was trafficked or exploited, and this one chose to do it, so one is better than the other. It's not like that. It's like both is happening, both is going to continue to happen, and they still need help. They still deserve help. They still deserve to be seen as a human being. So for me, it really began when I was 15, running away from home. There was abuse and stuff going on in my home, not sexual, but physical and emotional. And I just wanted out. And I kept running into, the arms of some really bad older men who definitely forced me to do things that I didn't want to do. And it was kind of like the groundwork. I believe that kind of like primed me. I was also slut shamed way before I ever even was sexual. And so I feel like all these things kind of, were grooming me to be super susceptible and vulnerable to people taking advantage of me sexually. So it was like people were slut shaming me. I didn't understand. And then, when all this, sexual trauma started happening in exploitation at 15, I kind of confirmed inside myself, oh yeah, of course this is happening. They said I was a slut. This is what happens to sluts. And so really internalized that. And I think that everybody is really just looking for love. You're not getting in your home. And so even though I knew these people were taking advantage of me and forcing me to do things with people that I didn't want to do, and video cameras involved and all this stuff, I just kind of thought to myself, oh, well, this must be what I'm good at. This is what I'm wanted for. This is what I'm good for. I just had this narrative, and I think it was confirmed or reiterated by the media too. Is like, oh, this is the highest attainment of a woman, is to be sexualized and to be glorified in this way. It's just very distorted for me as a child. I didn't understand. And then I got locked up, whatever. I was missing persons for a couple weeks, and the FBI were it was a big deal. The FBI were looking for me. There was some rape case, detectives. It was a very scary time in my life. Incredible, just incredible trauma of survival, trying to survive, hiding, and then I was rescued by some police. And back then they didn't have these laws about, oh, if a child's trafficked or exploited, we help them and we give them multidisciplinary teams. No, they put you in the nut house. So they put me in the nut house. And then from there, luckily, even though my parents, were pretty dysfunctional, they loved me a lot and they really wanted to help me. So they sent me to Mexico, and I was there for 13 months. But when I came out, I had no life skills, and I still had all this emotional trauma. Yeah, I had some therapy and some process work. Some seeds were planted, but I was just beyond being able to step into adulthood. And so I became an exotic dancer, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. I can drink and party the way that I need to drink and party to deal with, this brain and this set of emotions. And I couldn't hold another job because I had so many emotional breakdowns, but dancing, you made your own schedule, is perfect. And so I felt really empowered, but I got really sick. And I had never done anything like prostitution. And I flip-flopped in and out of dancing for a long time. And I found myself in LA, and I entered the porn industry. And I just, my thought process was like, I have no family. No one's ever going to marry me. I'm broken. I might as well just try this. This might work for me. Let me just try it. I can either do it or I can't. And it was there that it really, it got really confusing and really dark quickly. The porn agents, you on one side you say, oh, it was so fun, it was so glamorous. On another side is like highly manipulative, highly coercive, and kind of like pimping. Actually, it's a third party person profiting and really pressuring you to do things you don't want to do. And if you're a young woman out in LA by yourself with no resources and no one to turn to, you really want that next job, you just keep taking the jobs. And it was a porn producer who turned me out into prostitution, and he took me to the back room and basically told me, this is what all the girls do, and if you want to get hired, you have to do this. And I think I totally blacked out. I was completely sober, and I just blacked out, and I made myself do what I thought that I had to do, and that kind of opened up this gateway of escorting. And once that was open, it got seedier and seedier, and what ended up happening was I was suicidal. My boyfriend had broke up with me, and I was at a party, and this rapper told me, hey, I have an extra room. I was like, all right, yeah, I have nowhere else to go. Like, I'm moving in. And he's like, you don't have to pay me. We'll work it out. Strung out on drugs. And I just didn't dawn on me why these people were being nice to me. And it was such a blur. And I don't know, it only lasted for a couple of weeks. But at the end of it, I found myself at a record release mansion party. And I have cut wrists, I have bandages on my wrists, and I'm supposed to be a dancer, I think. I think I'm just dancing. And there was a very high profile figure, Prince guy, that came. I guess I shouldn't even say it on the radio, but but we were saying, I thought I was just dancing. But long story short, by the end of this night, the rapper that I was living with and his DJ came into the room, and they began what I now know from teaching human trafficking training was they were beginning the breaking process on me. They were, screaming at me and breaking me down and humiliating me and making me feel like I did something wrong to not get a certain amount of money out of this person that I was supposed to supposedly serve. And I was believing them. It was the weirdest thing. I was just crying like, yeah, I totally let these guys down. Like, I failed these people that I don't even know. And I'm believing them. And I was sure they were going to start beating me up. And so I just kind of cowered. And they They didn't beat me up. They left the room and they saw that they had broken me enough. But something inside me was like, just play along, Robin. Just play along. And I had a big wad of cash in my pocket that this figure person gave me. I didn't tell anybody, but something inside me was like, you got to get the fuck out of here as soon as possible. There was like creepy people, in the corners watching me. So I decided to make a run for it at probably like 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't know. And this woman tried to throw me in a van. I was barefooted. I was in Beverly Hills, and I just ran. And I didn't stop running until I hitchhiked. Some gentleman in a black Range Rover picked me up, and I was so afraid he was going to hurt me too. But I just, God, I said, I was obviously distraught, crying, barefoot in a cocktail dress. And I said, can you take me to a hotel or drop me off at a hotel? And I realized I reached out to my friends, and they're like, you need to go home. You need to go home back to the Bay Area. You need to go home and just abandon all your belongings because those people are really dangerous. And so I just abandoned my whole life, every picture, every keepsake, every hair item. And I came home to the Bay Area, and I didn't realize what that was. I just thought this is what happens when you're a bad person and you're living the fast life. Like, you get yourself into these messed up situations. And so when I came home, I wanted to get my life together, and I couldn't. I still couldn't until 2 weeks later I discovered I was pregnant. And that was it for me. And I set out on a journey to give my daughter and the best life that I could. And I knew that I had a ton of healing to do and a lot to learn. And so I just set out relentlessly to discover what it was going to take for me to heal and to give this little girl a chance at life. And so I did that, and it was amazing. I was able to tap into some deep feminine power that I was able to go to college and win 37 scholarships and a full ride to UC Berkeley and all this stuff. It's just like, it's never ending miracle. And so the healing that I found was when I started volunteering at a yoga studio. I was like, okay, I can't afford yoga, but I think it helps people, and I don't know, how to transition from crazy party girl to mom. So I worked at a yoga studio, and I started practicing yoga, and it was like somatic therapy. I dropped into my body for the first time. I saw my hands for the first time, and I just learned to appreciate this body that it endured so much abuse, and who I abused. And I just felt so grateful that it trusted me to give birth to this baby. And I started having spiritual experiences through the yoga and visions of healing my inner child, and just, visions of self-love, revelations of my beauty. So I did teacher training, and then, I didn't get therapy at first because I didn't have insurance and the list was so long, but eventually I got into therapy. I started doing depth hypnosis, which is kind of like a shamanic style of therapy where I did lots of soul retrievals. And this therapist was the first person to ever tell me that I wasn't broken or nothing was wrong with me, that I was actually gifted. And it was a whole different perspective. And so that perspective really carried me through, because I began to look at myself and my sensitivities and the adversity as a strength. And I began to talk about it with people from an empowered place and not a shameful place. And I began to see how people responded to my vulnerability, and I loved it. And I was writing and constantly expressing myself and public speaking, and all of those steps kind of dropped me deeper into self-acceptance. And it's been really, really hard. I've had moments of incredible bliss and progress, but it's simultaneously very capable of PTSD getting triggered and believing these horrible stories that I'm broken, that I don't deserve to be a mom. Just that childhood wounding just debilitated me for years, and not consistently, but when it hit, it was like I was at risk of suicide. I was at risk of relapsing on drugs and alcohol. And it's taken me a long time. It's taken me 10 years to really unravel those tendencies and it just gets deeper and deeper. What I found was that I had to have the courage, of a warrior to turn towards the darkest pieces, the pieces that felt so horrific and so unlovable and so just there's no possible way that I could live like this, and to turn towards those and to kind of allow myself to soften into that and what was revealed to me that it wasn't real. And that was the beginning of a whole, another level of healing, which is still happening. It doesn't just happen once, it's just layers and layers. And now I feel that this is the most beautiful possible human experience ever, to feel such the far reaching ranges of what it is to be human, from the total horror to the complete ecstasy and everything in between. And I'm just so excited for more. It's like, this is awesome. And if I can share this with anyone else suffering to that degree that they feel they need to die or whatever, believing whatever weird stories, I want to reflect to them that it's not real. And so it's been like the yoga, somatic stuff, depth hypnosis, and I fell really deeply in love with plant and animal medicines. It really took the 18 years of healing work that I was doing on and off, because I did start therapy when I was 13, but all of the self-inquiry and just blew it out of the water. It's like, oh yeah, good work, Robin. Like, good job all those 18 years. And now we're really going to give you the healing. Now you're really going to get to receive the fruits of your dedication and your perseverance. And it's just I'm really, really grateful.
Wow. I think that's like, I don't even want to call it a story, but like the most probably touching moving recount that we've had on this podcast. Yeah.
Sorry, it was long.
Totally tearing up, like my eyes were welling up. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's like really heavy, but beautiful to hear that your progress and your transformation.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And that's possible, that you were able to find that. And if I was reading your, all, because you have an even longer bio on your website that really goes more in depth into the resilience and so now you're inspiring other folks on how they too can live the life to their fullest potential. So can you share a little more about that, your offerings, the people that you work with, and how people can work with you?
Yeah. So, I do individual and group coaching, and I'm trying to birth this Light Warriors program so that it can be tailored to both the general public and to the at-risk youth population. But the way that people could work with me is reaching out to me one-on-one. And what I do is I'm really operating from an integral perspective. So it's like, integral would mean is kind of like a step above holistic. We look at all the domains of people's lives and put in practices so that whatever is the person's goal, whatever their highest vision for their life is, we're going to be working on practices that are both for their inner world and their outer world. So that's what I really like about coaching versus just therapy, is that you can, you're not skipping parts, you're including the whole and everything. So for example, if I'm working with somebody that wants to become a public speaker or wants to turn their passion into an online course, I work with them on the tangible goals, but I also, am right there with them as the obstacles come up, the inner obstacles, because that's really, all there is. And so that's how I work with them, usually in a 3 to 6 month package container. Yeah, so it's really beautiful and inspiring work. The clients that I have right now I have 2 of them that are launching their like soul-centered digital coaching programs, where they created the online platform, they have their email list, and then they welcome people into their offerings, which is like their life's work. And so I really believe that the online platform could be really amazing for especially female entrepreneurs who have a soulful mission that they want to reach more people in that way. So a lot of the work I do is around the online stuff as well.
Awesome. And everyone, if you want to learn more, you can go to Robin's website at robinriveraignites.com. Wow, we could probably talk forever because you have so much.
Pretty good time. I know. I'm so sorry. Wow.
No, it's beautiful. No, it's just so much to share. I'm so grateful for you, and you're sharing your vulnerability and just in awe of your path of where you've come from and where you are now, and the offerings that you're sharing with the world. It's just so inspiring and so important. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy and April. Thanks for having me on here.
Thank you for taking the time to spend with us. I mean, I think our listeners are really going to be, inspired by really how much vulnerability that you've had and also your work with others. You're doing wonderful work, Robin.
Thank you.
And we hope maybe to have you on again, or hope to see you soon and continue on your beautiful journey. I know you're traveling right now. Safe travels to you.
Thank you.
And we look forward to connecting with you again.
I do too. Thank you so much. Bless your lives.
Thank you. All right, everybody, that was Robin, and we hope you enjoyed the show today. Tune in every Tuesday for another Shameless Sex podcast episode. We'll see you next Tuesday, y'all. Ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.